on BerryFlow Upstream number 48. How's everyone doing? We're here with Chris, editor-in-chief of Crackberry.com, Brandon Orr, this alleged infamous developer, BlackBerry 10 developer, and as well we have Alex Bass of CyberBytes Designs. How's everyone doing this evening?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing well.
We don't have
I managed to just get here in time. I was out of town for a graduation, and I was like upstream, so we sped home from Cleveland, Ohio to New York, and I'm here. So, hey guys.
Yay! Alex made it.
I really didn't think Alex was going to make it, so I'm kind of impressed. I'm kind of glad you got your family to like break the speed limit just to get to Upstream. That's much appreciated. Hopefully there are no cops watching this.
No.
And did you see any blackberries during your trip, Alex?
Oh, we were at a truck stop, a really nice truck stop, and a guy was in his stall over to the left, and he was doing his business, but I heard that ding, that infamous ding. I knew he had a BlackBerry for sure. He's probably a big trucker guy or whatever. Part of me was happy, but it smelled so bad I just get out of there. So, but it was.
Are you sure that ding was from a mobile device or like the turd dropping? Like,
no, it's definitely a legacy BlackBerry. It sounded.
Actually, tying into that, a lot of truckers and a lot of truck companies actually provide BlackBerries to their drivers, and they double on as like as a GPS device. I guess you can do that with most mobile devices, but a lot of truck companies they started when BlackBerry was really big back in 2008, and they've just kept them around. They still use them. So when you see a lot of truckers out there and you see them with like a BlackBerry, it's usually because the companies are actually using that to track them and to manage their fleet.
Interesting. Well, that makes sense then. Definitely makes sense.
It's funny though that ding was pinked up, and it's funny. I think we talked about it on a previous Upstream where iPhone users were trying to like buy that sound.
Yeah.
On devices. Made, I guess, ever more popular by House of Cards. I don't know why they want us to talk about Gotham. Have you guys actually seen Gotham? I've seen it very briefly. I think I've seen like the first season.
I watched a few episodes of it, and then I fell off watching it. So
I'm watching Flash and the Arrow. Those two are, I'm liking those two. The Flash is probably my favorite one, just because the Arrow's a little bit too serious now. It's like, all right, is he gonna do something Felicity or not? It's just too much character development in that show.
that's what I was watching. I was watching Gotham, Arrow, and the Flash all together, because basically it's all from the DC universe. So, but then I stopped watching all of them, and I got to get myself caught up on them all.
See, I started watching some of those shows, and then I watched Daredevil, and I was like, well, that's all to the side now. I'm not going back for that. Daredevil kind of raised the bar for me, at least. I really like the bloodiness of that show, to be quite honest. I don't know how else to put it. It's just very visceral.
The only thing I didn't like about Daredevil was like it was like a little bit too slow. Like it dragged on, and I don't want to. Where it is still fairly new, I don't want to ruin any spoilers, but it's just like, come on, just hurry up and get to it. And I was like, when the end came, I was like, yes, finally.
See, that feeling for me was kind of watching Breaking Bad. Everybody's like, oh man, it's a dope show, but then it's like, I don't know, when like around after the first season, every season after that, it was like all the beginning shows were just kind of setting up for the end, and then the end was like, whoa. But then all the other shows leading up to that were just kind of like, okay, like I see where this is going. Let's all right, we're getting there, and then the final episode just blew your mind.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how Upstream's episodes like they're.
Oh, is it?
Alex, you've been pretty quiet through our little chatter about the shows. You watch anything maybe worth sharing?
Well, I mean, I recently started watching Last Man on Earth. My aunt was really trying to get me to watch it. It's fairly funny. It's about a guy who is the last man on Earth, and obviously he has free will to do whatever he wants because the flu wiped everyone out. And then there's some character development where then ends up being the last woman on Earth, and I'm not spoiling anything. This is literally like the first or second episode. But she's the most annoying person you could have ever met. So it's a really funny show. I highly recommend. They're on the first season now on Fox. Just go check it out. It's pretty funny.
What's the name of it? Sorry.
Last Man on Earth.
Oh, okay.
I've seen trailers for that. It looked kind of crazy. I'll check it out now because you said something.
It's pretty funny. I was skeptical at first, but it's pretty funny.
Alex has got like that $1,000 from the television company, you know, to promote that show.
Oh, I wish. Oh man.
That's how he's buying his Blackberries, guys.
Box endorsements.
That seems like the most backward kind of endorsement to get for a BlackBerry device. Alex, so you're in Columbus, right? You have a Z30. What was the experience like? I mean, how long were you there?
So I essentially left yesterday and I just drove back this afternoon. So we stayed at some really shady hotel. Oh man, it looked like people were gonna fall out the windows, and there was a big rave going on. But it was cheap, so it worked. But yeah, I mean,
That's
like I really
hotel.
yeah, exactly. But I didn't see any other Blackberries. I was there with my uncle, and he also has a Z30, but it's still on 10.2.1. So it's pretty old, but his battery life outlasted mine. I think I have way too many apps eating away. I'm on the 10.3.2 683 or whatever, the newest beta. Battery life was terrible for me, but I think it's because I have way too many apps. You know, that something's probably draining it. But I didn't see any Blackberries. My cousin, actually, I sold him on BlackBerry a while back, and he loves it. He just unfortunately told me he switched to Android a few weeks ago. He said he misses the messaging a lot, but he said the apps, he just had, you know, he had to do it. He has a girlfriend now, they Snapchat a lot, and there's enough reasons where he just needed the apps. Unfortunate, but he does miss BlackBerry, some of the key points of messaging and everything.
Another one bites the dust on BlackBerry 10 thanks to Snapchat. Chris, you and I were talking a while back, and I find the same thing on BerryFlow, that one of the most searched things on the site is Snapchat. I wonder what it is with BlackBerry users at Snapchat.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was going through some of the statistics for Crackberry, and basically all last month, all throughout the month of April, the top searched application basically was Snapchat. Like the top 3 searches ended up being Snapchat.
Wow.
And, you know, mostly because of the fact that people had Snapchat working before. At least this is how I see it, anyways, from my level. People had Snapchat working before, either through like the original application Snapchat, or through the various applications that have been created specifically for BlackBerry 10 devices. But as everybody knows, those applications were, they stopped working. Snapchat blocked the actual application, and Nimeri's app stopped working at that point if you logged out or anything like that. So, I think that comes down to it, that people were actually like searching for ways to get Snapchat back on their device, and as we know, there's not really any sort of official way to do so. There is one app called Casper out there that will allow you to access a bunch of stuff, but even it's kind of a sketchy application that you probably don't want to mess with anyway.
I actually have it installed. I was one of the people that, I'm an idiot, and I logged out simply because my mind was all screwed up. I was like, oh, I wanna change my name. I want to see if like the name ABAS is available, because right now I'm using Flip for Bytes. So idiot me logs out, and I try and create an account, and it gives me error. And then I try and log back in, and I can't. And then I started looking at Crackberry, and there were 50 threads talking about it. And one recommended Casper. You have to put in like your Google login number or information and your Snapchat login, so it is a little bit sketchy. But if you just use a specific app generation password through Google, then you could always just deny it. It's not like you have to genuinely give out your password, and it works all right. It's very slow. Viewing stories and things sucks. I haven't touched it in a few weeks now. I've removed myself from Snapchat for the last 3 or 4 months or so. I just don't care about it anymore because there's really no good solution. So whatever. But
really focused on Fling and Tinder rather than.
Dude, I really have not been touching anything. Surprisingly, I've just
nothing at all.
Not really, honestly. I have my work apps. I've been downloading a lot of Android apps for work, and luckily they all work on BlackBerry. So I lucked out with that.
I think I figured out why your Z30 battery life is pretty poor.
Probably.
On your trip to Cleveland.
Yeah.
You visiting some video-intensive sites there, Alex?
I was with my family, sir. No.
I think this is the telltale sign, Alex, where you need to go get a BlackBerry Leap. Maybe you fly over to Hong Kong, go buy one, help the market increase of devices over there.
Yeah.
Talking about the
Right.
Snapchat, though, I mean, what Snapchat's doing is what they should have been doing from the beginning, anyways. Just looking as someone from the outside in, their whole service relies on people like having that bit of trust when they send an image or something to somebody else. And if there's other programs, third-party applications like that that can do things with the Snapchat API, there's going to be issues where that data is going to get out. I mean, it's not the most secure thing right now, but I think they're trying to adhere to some of those concerns and trying to alleviate some of that stuff there. But in terms of what it means for BlackBerry users, I mean, the Android APK works. It's a matter of the fact that they like we've seen with Netflix and other companies, they just don't bring it to the Amazon App Store or make it available for BlackBerry customers on BlackBerry World, and it's just a shame.
Yeah, I mean, when you install the app, you open it up. If you look closely at the application, you can see that it works and everything works. Especially people who have used it before know that it works. It's just that it's being blocked by Google Play services and whatever else Snapchat has done on their end to be able to go ahead and detect which device it's actually running on, and then they disable it. They're like, no, you're on an unsupported device. Sorry. Which is just plain stupid. I mean, I get the reasoning for it because, a lot of people will download an app and then if something doesn't work right, then they go ahead and they email Snapchat when, Snapchat has nothing really to do with it because basically you're using it on an unsupported device, but still, I mean, why not just let it go through and ignore those people who do have problems?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like there's so many companies that just put an application out there, and if people download it and it doesn't work, they simply say, "Oh, it's not supported." If that happens, and if it works, fine. But I mean, I don't understand why they would end up blocking other devices that aren't supported. If they're not supported, just let them have it. Whatever. If it doesn't work, their problem.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
I think the interesting thing maybe they might be enjoying this little hype that it builds. The fact that even like having BlackBerry users and Windows Phone users complain about it, it gets the word out there constantly talking about it, and it could be a really screwed up kind of marketing avenue for them. Like just, no news is bad news. Even people complaining, the fact like it's showing the hype for it. Like we're complaining because we want it, so more people talk about it. Like I don't know. I'm just saying that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's not out of the bounds either. I mean I've thought of that before. I'm pretty sure Snapchat has thought about that before because like you said, everybody's talking about their application because they can't get it.
But
so that in its own creates its own hype.
But is Snapchat the type of app that if you've been using it for the past 8 months and you have your BlackBerry or Windows Phone, is it the type of app that you're going to say, oh, it doesn't work on my device, I'm going to switch devices to use it so that Snapchat keeps you as a user?
Hey,
so
if your girlfriend threatens to leave you, then you might.
Well, then you have bigger issues if that's going on,
But the thing is, the solution to those big issues is something so small like Snapchat.
Yeah.
Like it really is. I've known plenty of girls who are like, "You're not on Snapchat," and I'm like, "Let me get on Snapchat real quick," It's funny because Alex is complaining because he logged out. I'm logged in on both Passport and Classic, and the app still works fine. Old version.
Yep.
It says my account is locked, but I can still use the app in full for posting and receiving stories and the like. So
just don't ever log out.
Exactly, right? Or don't accidentally long press and uninstall the application.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting kind of conversation in terms of whether Snapchat is kind of doing this more to proliferate their own selves. Kind of sucks to push users to one platform when your app could work. It's not like they can't get it working for BlackBerry 10.
I just want to make another note too, is that we're not just seeing this from the company side from Snapchat. We're also seeing other apps where Google services is really taking its hold on the entire Android ecosystem. And what we're seeing with a lot of APKs that previously used to work, when they're updated now, there's this new requirement for certain Google services to be included in apps. And a lot of apps that used to work aren't working anymore on BlackBerry 10, even though they used to work. And it's just annoying how this whole like apps that like technically can work, but it's because there's a whole bunch of red tape or like done around these ecosystems that's kind of holding us back.
And it's funny because some of these apps are totally fine, and they do at times request Google Play services. Here's a perfect example. I have QuickBooks. I just switched over to QuickBooks for my business, and here's like my client list. So when I click the client, then if it'll load, see Google Play services because there's a location option, and I can just click OK. It goes away. The app is fully functional, but this location button does not work. So
Yeah.
the app is fully functional. It's just saying, hey, you need Google Play services for this specific feature. So essentially, we're letting you know the feature doesn't work. You can still use the app though, but then other apps like block you out. Like you don't have location services where you can't use the app, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the exact same thing that happens with me. I use Nike Plus. It's an Android app for running. Just because I used it, I've been using it for 6 years already. So I like to have all my runs in one location. And essentially, like 2 months ago, it was working, mapping my runs perfectly fine. All of a sudden, they added Android or Google Health integration or Google Watch integration, and all of a sudden now all their maps are done through Google services. So now it tracks my run, but it can't actually map my run because I don't have Google services. And it's just like, come on, man, like it worked. I don't understand it. Well, I understand it. It's just a shame that it happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little lapses there, and I wish maybe BlackBerry did something to maybe integrate their own services to fill in some of those gaps, like BlackBerry Maps and other things. And you can imagine that kind of integration will come. I've seen a lot of BlackBerry users like talking about Fitbit, talking about wearables, and wanting more access. This is BlackBerry employees, so you can imagine that proliferates over to the users as well, because we want that stuff, obviously. So I think something will come along the pipe, be it a runtime enabled, lower Bluetooth energy to be able to get us some of those connections, or maybe patching some of those services.
Yeah, John Chen, he mentioned a few weeks ago, he's like, the app gap, we're doing something to alleviate that app gap. So, I mean, one of those options potentially could be to have some type of measure in place to take those Google services or what have you and kind of replace them with BlackBerry services.
Well, some of that's supposed to be in place already for like, especially with mapping applications and stuff like that. That stuff is essentially supposed to switch over to BlackBerry Maps API, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's the way it's supposed to be.
I think it's older, version 2 point something and below, it will do that. But if they have a newer Google Maps version, API version in their apps, it won't. So, I mean, that's another update that will have to be done. As we've seen over the years, BlackBerry has updated their Android runtime, and I think in order for those apps to kind of have those slots filled in with BlackBerry services, we're going to have to see another update. It's just a question of whether that will happen or whether something better than continually having to catch up will be put in place.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a catch-up game. Hopefully we can actually get ahead of the curve in terms of applications. That's something I know I've been waiting for. People see the Passport all the time. They see any BlackBerry device and like, that's a BlackBerry what? It's a Z30, whatever it may be. And you got to, the first question they're going to ask is like, well, did they ever solve that app problem they had? Because they had none, right? As Instagram and like Facebook and all these like really popular applications started taking off, BlackBerry kind of just stayed where they were until BlackBerry 10 came about. So I'm definitely would be interested to see maybe some kind of refinement on that front. How have you guys been in terms of your actual Android runtime experience? Like, Alex, you've been on Z30. Do you notice like a noticeable lag when you run apps as opposed to maybe Brandon or Blaze on a Passport?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using, like, honestly, probably the most used apps on my phone right now are Android apps. And for the most part, they run really well. Starting up takes a little bit of time, but once it starts going, it's not too bad. But again, the apps that I'm using are very, like, information focused, like, Harvest, it tracks my time. It's really just like click a button and then it'll start tracking my time, and nothing too overly complicated. But once you start getting into the more complex apps, then they'll take some time to load and everything. But it's very fluid, good enough where I'm not complaining. But you know, I would like it to be a little bit smoother and quicker. It's not too big of a deal right now in the Z30 though. But
You know what? I find using like over the years of having BlackBerry 10, when it first started, I wouldn't even look at using an Android app because the experience was just
yeah.
so bad. And now I think like BlackBerry is really on the cusp of being able to provide a decent solution for those Android apps. Like I was telling the BerryFlow group a few days ago, my work gave me a Fitbit as part of a pilot program, and the person presenting was like, "Oh, the BlackBerry isn't supported by Fitbit," and I'm like, "Okay, let me check the Amazon App Store." And so I downloaded it right on the spot, and I was able to sync through Bluetooth my Fitbit with my BlackBerry 10. So I was like, "Yeah, this app does work on BlackBerry 10." He's like, "Oh, okay," and then he told everybody. But it's like they're really on the cusp of really getting those apps to work. It's just a matter of filling in those small gaps, like we mentioned, Google services, and being able to plug in those holes so that it becomes a comprehensive solution as opposed to a stopgap measure.
Right. So for your Fitbit app, it's an Android app and it has to be open, right? Or does it have a headless ability where it works whether the app is open or not?
The way I use it basically is just like at the end of the day, I'll just open the app and then sync it, and that's it. And then the information is all stored on the little Fitbit dongle.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe it's able to have a headless functionality, which is one of those things where it's, notifications are a big thing. There's a lot of people I know who are like, oh, this is great. Like this app works on my BlackBerry, even though it's an Android app. But the issue is that they won't get notifications. So for people previously who used Snapchat, I know for a lot of those people, it was a pain that they couldn't get notifications sent to them and that they had to keep opening the Snapchat app to check whether messages came in or not. And I think that's one of those areas, especially notifications and headless functionality that does eventually need to come if they want to provide a comprehensive Android alternative for apps.
I think
yeah, Blaze, what about you? I was interested to see because you play around with a lot of devices. I mean, what's your experience like with the runtime on BB10?
Yeah, my main concern with it now isn't it's not necessarily how the apps run or anything like that. The ones that do work really do work nicely. They've improved a lot throughout basically what the Android runtime once was. Getting it updated to at least a newer Android makes the apps look a little bit prettier and everything like that. My main concern comes from, I guess you could say, the experience from device to device because, as we know, like the BlackBerry Leap is using somewhat older specs and stuff like that. So that's where my concern comes from, is because on the BlackBerry Passport, the Android apps run really quick. They load up nice and fast, and they're accessible and really nice and fluid. However, when you actually go to, like, say, a BlackBerry Leap or a BlackBerry Classic, that's where you start to see some of the differences between the Android applications. Like the BlackBerry Leap will load it up a little bit slower, or the BlackBerry Classic will load it up a little bit slower than what the Passport does. And there's always that question about whether or not the specs matter on BlackBerry 10 devices. And when it comes down to saying, like, do specs matter in terms of BlackBerry 10? No, I don't think that specs matter in terms of BlackBerry 10 native applications or anything like that. I think that it's reasonable to say that all these devices that are out there, the Classic and the Passport and the Leap and so on, are all on par when it comes to native applications. It's just that when it comes to Android applications, that's where you start to notice the difference, and that's where I think BlackBerry should pay a little bit more attention, or at least put more RAM in some of the older devices, not necessarily older devices, even like just the basic devices like the BlackBerry Leap and the BlackBerry Classic, because, like I said, opening a Android application on the BlackBerry Passport is a very different experience than opening an Android application on the BlackBerry Leap. It's a little bit slower, a little bit sluggish to load up, and you see those differences. Now, of course, only a person with all of those devices is essentially going to notice that, but it's still there, and it's problematic, at least from my standpoint. When I go to recommend a device to someone, I'm going to recommend a Passport because I know what the experiences are in terms of loading Android apps and applications like that on the Passport versus the Leap or the Classic or Q10, Z10, Z30, whatever.
Really makes me kind of wish and want for that, like just an all-touch Passport, be it a 16:9 slab that looks like a Leap. I mean, I take it. Really, that performance is great with the 3 gigabytes of RAM, the better Adreno, and of course the quad core. Got a lot more horsepower under the hood on that device. And the Passport really is kind of standing right now as this device. Most BlackBerry devices that we've seen kind of hit the market almost elapse themselves in a matter of 5 to 6 months. The Z30 did this with the Z3, where this hardware kind of gets reiterated in so many different ways that it's hard to keep track of what is the flagship, quote unquote. Do you guys think right now that the flagship is the Passport? Is the flagship the Classic? I mean, in terms of numbers sold, you may actually see the Classic outselling Passport, at least nowadays. Yeah. But what do you guys think? What's the flagship? Is that defined by specifications, or is that defined by experience? And maybe in either instance, it comes down to Passport, right?
No, I think for a lot of users, it comes down to the specifications of the device. The higher the hardware, the better people look at it. And for me, that's Passport. If I was building a device for BlackBerry at this point in time, I would set the standard, no less than 3 gigabytes of RAM at this point in time. But I'm not the one setting that standard. So hopefully they'll get out of the hardware that they're actually into right now with like the BlackBerry Leap and the BlackBerry Classic, and hopefully going forward they'll essentially put up that hardware in all of the devices to basically either what the Passport is or better, so that people can experience it a little bit more. Because I think, at least for now, the Passport is one of those flagship devices. It is the flagship device for me because it offers essentially the best experience between the BlackBerry 10 native applications and the Android applications. If you go anything lower than what the Passport is, then that's it's kind of a sketchy territory at that point. So
you're talking about maybe sketchy territory, but will you be picking up a BlackBerry Leap in white? Because I kind of want one. I talked about this like on previous Upstreams. It's like there's still something about BlackBerry devices that just makes me want to have one. So what about you? Do you think you're going to pick up a white Leap, maybe throw one at the Crackberry fandom?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pick one up. Like, it's so hard. Like, we always seem to come back talking about the specs on the Leap and stuff like that recently, because it is the hottest device that BlackBerry has out now. It's like the newest device. So we don't have much choice but to talk about it. But realistically, like, I was probably a little bit harsh on the Leap when it first came out. I said that, I don't understand why this device exists. But, there is a market, there is a spot for it, and, there's nothing really wrong with the specs. It's a really nice device. And there are people out there that will buy it. It's absolutely true. And, where my harshness towards the Leap actually comes from is because I'm a Passport user, and I want something a little bit more speedier and then higher spec, right? But, in no way is the BlackBerry Leap a terrible device. I think there are certain people that will look at it as a terrible device, and those aren't the people that should be picking one up, I think that there's a market for it, and, there's absolutely nothing really wrong with the BlackBerry Leap at this point. So, yeah, I'll definitely pick up a white Leap just to add it to my collection that I have, because overall it really is a nice device, and it looks really damn sharp in white, too. I don't necessarily understand why they went with the black front, but it sort of looks great that way, because as we know, a lot of people were making their own sort of black and white devices back in the day when the Z10 came out. The Oreos and the Stormtrooper devices. So it seems
it kind of harkens back to the Z10. It does. You're absolutely right, Chris. Because white Z10 had a white body, but still had the black digitizer and screen.
Yeah, it's like BlackBerry jacked our ideas. They jacked the community ideas and made it real.
It keeps some of the kind of maybe like edge to edge like look of the glass. I think that probably helps too. It just is good contrast, as you said. It's a sexy looking device.
Yeah.
With the black buttons, so the black volume rockers and pause play and all that stuff, all in black, and you have the black screen. What about you, Brandon? What are some of your thoughts on a white Leap? Is that something you might bring to a family member? Like, hey, this is something you should try. I know you mentioned to me earlier about trying to get your mother on a passport. What are some of your thoughts on the devices?
And okay, let me preface this by saying, when you look at the passport, whenever I show people a passport, it kind of no one talks about, does it have a lot of power? Can it run apps fine? When people see a passport, and when I'm introducing it to people who don't know about BlackBerry, they're kind of in awe with the form factor and the fact that you can use a keyboard and some of the features. Now, after discussing that, so when people look at a passport, they're looking more at the overall package of what it can give you with a keyboard. With the Leap, it's a great device, as Blaze said. It's an awesome device. It looks really good, looks sleek, but when it's in a touch form factor, people are looking more towards the performance side of things just because there's so much competition. Whereas with the Passport, there's really no other competition out there, so people are just in awe of it. Whereas when it's a touch device, it doesn't really push the boundaries that much in design to get people going ooh and ah over it compared to an iPhone or some other devices. So automatically the competition becomes specs. But all that aside from the point, it is definitely a phone I'm eyeing, and I do hope to pick up within the next couple of months, just because I do like touch devices from BlackBerry. I think they've done an awesome job, as we've seen with the Z10 and Z30, and up until now, the Z30 has still been my favorite device, bar none. And I'm looking forward to see how it is with the Leap, because I can only imagine that they would improve on it even more. And let's face it, the Leap does look sexier than the Z30.
It does, and it's funny because you mentioned the Z30 right as you close, Brandon, and I'm playing a mini violin here with two hands for Alex, who's sitting with his Z30 on Verizon, leapless, because he can't even jump to that, can't jump to a Passport, can't jump to a Leap. Maybe that slider is what you're actually waiting for, and maybe BlackBerry's doing you a favor, Alex. They're like, no, wait, you got it. What are some of your thoughts, Alex? Would you take a Leap form factor over a Z30 right now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's also one of those things where I know a lot of us, you get bored with the phone that you have after 2 years, and we're upcoming on the 2 year mark, at least, of how long the Z30 has been out, and I'm getting kind of bored of it. So yeah, I would take a Leap. Spec wise, it's really not too much different. Technically, I should keep my Z30, but I feel like maybe my battery in my Z30 might be starting to go a tiny bit, or not be full capacity, and I can't go and swap it out. So yeah, you know what? I'll take a Leap. I probably would. Yeah.
Also, I just want to say, like, there's a lot of people out there that constantly make the comparison between the BlackBerry Leap and the BlackBerry Z30, and they're like, well, why would you buy this when you could buy the BlackBerry Z30 for this? Let's, that is honestly the situation right now, but that is a very short-term situation. That situation is going to disappear rather quickly. As we've seen it, the devices are being bought up. Eventually, the Z30 is going to disappear from the BlackBerry website. It's going to disappear from Best Buy and Office Depot and whatever else. And then all you're going to be left with is the BlackBerry Leap as a choice. It just so happens it's available now.
And Blaze, I think you hit it right on the nail why people are kind of disappointed with the Leap, because when the Z30 came out, when you compared it to the Z10, people were like, hands down, Z30 is the device I want to get if I have a choice between a Z10 and a Z30. Whereas now, you still have people who are saying, oh, the Z30 is still a decent device when you look at it all in all, and compared to the Leap, I mean, the Leap just doesn't really push the envelope that much for people to say, hands down, the Leap is that touch device that I want from BlackBerry. You still got that discrepancy that people see, and it's really just, it's got a place in the market, as we discussed. It's just, I think from a BlackBerry fanboy perspective, aside from the business aspect of it, I think from a BlackBerry fanboy aspect, a lot of us are disappointed, and I don't think it's unfounded, but I don't think we should necessarily be upset with BlackBerry because of it either, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely a business move, right? They have to put these devices out. Fleets need upgrading, and they want an all-touch factor. That's the feedback they get. That's the device they bring to market. It's definitely a necessity, right? We had the Z3. We needed an LTE variant. Here it is. It is, in terms, a Z10 successor in a couple of ways. Still, that Z30, though, is very nice. We're getting tweets here coming in, like Edwin just posted a Z30, and next to his a white Z30, which is the all-white bezel, in right next to an iPhone in white, and he's like, "Come on, Brandon, come on, that Z30 is pretty awesome." And you're right, BlackBerry devices are they're awesome. Each of them has their own unique value, right? The Z30 is sleek, brings a lot of the Passport aesthetic into the all-touch factor, and the Z30 still brings some gentle curves, the nice backing, and as well that full white bezel. A little bit better Adreno, a little bit better screen in terms of the OLED, so you get some battery saving there as well. A little bit bigger battery. I mean, 80 milliamps is 80 milliamps. I'll take it, right? And that's why Alex is holding on to his still. But let's move forward, guys, from the Leap conversation, because we really have nailed that so hard over the past couple of upstreams. Let's talk about the BlackBerry Classic, available on T-Mobile online and soon in stores. What do you guys think about the kind of rekindling of the relationship in terms of both T-Mobile and BlackBerry? I've heard that the device is actually like totally unbranded. It's just BlackBerry branded. There's no T-Mobile branding, which I think is pretty cool. A nice little hat tip to BlackBerry fans. We're not going to obscure this device with any kind of branding. You just get the Classic for what it is. What are some of your thoughts on the recent relationship mending that's been done through John Legere and John Chen?
It's nice to see. I mean, the BlackBerry Classic is back on the T-Mobile website. Business people can go ahead and order it. Regular consumers can order it. It's actually in stores now. I mean, except for those stores that don't have any stock or anything like that. But there are stores out there that it is available in. So you can buy it directly online through the T-Mobile website, or you can head down to a T-Mobile store and pick it up. I thought that the banter back and forth between the two CEOs was a little bit hilarious and a little bit cheesy at the same time, but that comes with the territory. And now there's we got John Chen on Twitter, so that's cool. And somebody was saying like, yeah, well, T-Mobile has it listed on their website, but it's listed dead last, and I'm like, who cares where it's listed? At least it's listed at this point. Like, it doesn't matter. At least it's there for somebody.
People who are going to buy it are looking for it. They're not going to stumble upon it and be like, ooh, Classic, that looks interesting. Let me buy that instead of the iPhone. It's not going to happen like that.
They're going to go to T-Mobile and they're going to buy a Classic. It's the only way it's going to happen, right? Yeah. People want these devices too, and that's the thing. There are so many tens of millions of legacy users out there who are still looking for that kind of Classic experience. Blaze was talking about the performance between devices earlier. And I thought to myself, when I was using my Classic, I thought, man, a Classic with Passport specs is actually all I want. Add in a touch-enabled keyboard, and I'm done. If that's what the Classic 2 is, I am all about it. Yeah. Maybe a little bit bigger screen, like 0.2 inches. Like, I'm not talking Passport size, like not a full inch, but like just a little bigger. That would be perfection for me. Because that trackpad, that tool belt is very nice still.
Yeah. And James, I mean, like, considering they did come up with the Passport, I think the Classic was just a little bit too close to the Passport launch, and after they saw the Passport launch, I think it's all but confirmed that the future keyboard devices are going to have touch-enabled keyboards. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really make sense not to, because that's such a key thing that differentiates them from legacy BlackBerry devices. Not just the operating system, but when you look at the keyboard, it's a really sign and a beacon to BlackBerry's innovation. The fact that they can take something old, like a keyboard that everybody considers to be, in the past, but they actually change it into something new and fresh. that can have it compete even in today's world where we have Swipe and other third-party touch-enabled keyboards on iPhone that are helping people type faster. We see that these these touch-enabled keyboards, physical keyboards, are really helping to make even physical typing more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the classic, essentially if you put a touch-enabled keyboard on that, it's funny though, because it's kind of like a redundancy thing, but like I guess not, but like kind of.
I would love it, man. Just backswiping words real quick, like fine cursor placement.
Yeah, that's true. That like actually within the typing, I really can't use something that doesn't swipe back to delete the word. I do it on any phone that I'm on, and the Passport was great that it had that functionality, and I genuinely did use it a lot when I had it. So aside from using the keyboard as a trackpad, because in the newest release, for instance, you can kind of do that with the Passport. So it's like that is kind of redundant if they did that, having a trackpad and the keyboard work that way. But there definitely are other things that stop it. I don't have one. How do I have one? But James, yeah, you mentioned that the Classic is wanted, and I was working last night or yesterday morning actually, and I got a call from the guy from Craigslist who I sold my 9930 to about a year ago or so. And I was talking to him at that point in time, and I mentioned, keep an eye out for the Classic, because he was a 9650 user, and he just wanted a 9930 for the time being. And I said, watch out for the Classic. Like, this is probably the phone that you're going to want. And he called me yesterday and left a message and said, I was just curious if you had a Classic that I could possibly buy from you. He's essentially looking for a discount Classic because he's ready to make that jump from Legacy 9930 to a Classic. So finally some people are taking their sweet time to get off Legacy, but some of them are looking for the Classic. So I definitely do agree.
They'll come, and I think that's kind of like what Brandon's article from last week echoed. Is like, you still have a user base. Like, why don't you market to them? Like, yeah, Passport can bring in new users and bring that ooh-ah factor, but like, talk to your people. Like, there are millions of people on BBOS that are just waiting to come to this. They don't even know it because their marketing is so sparse in terms of what's out there. But this could be a long, drawn-out conversation. We'll end it here on that front in terms of Classic and T-Mobile, because there's a lot to be said, right? Even the cheesy photos that they took, the selfies that they took of their heads on their devices. As Blaze said, maybe it's kind of a marketing thing more than anything else, right? They're doing it to proliferate the brand. As long as John Chen is actually on Twitter, he seems to be responding and actually having conversations with people. That's pretty positive to see. Alex, show us Blend. Or do you want me to pull it up on my end?
I thought you'd never ask.
Right. So, this is the latest Blend build, version 1.2 Beta 2. This is available in BlackBerry Beta Zone for select users. It's running right now. Alex had mentioned he's on the latest OS build as well. Alex, correct us here. You're running this on Z30 for performance measure, correct?
Yes, I'm running this on a Z30, and there are noticeable differences.
Wi-Fi? Is it over Wi-Fi, or what kind of connection are we looking at?
Yep, it's over Wi-Fi. And again, keep in mind that Blend is essentially driving right off of your device. So if you do have a quicker device, the better it will get. So if I had a Passport, things would probably load a little bit quicker. James said it's very smooth, and this is fairly smooth anyway. Do you want me to just go through a quick overview of some of it, or?
Well, here's something I want you to do, Alex, and this is something I found very cool in Blend. I'm going to send you a message. What I want you to do is actually hover over the instant action so we can see the instant action. And what I then want you to do is actually go on your mobile device and read the message I send you. Watch how the instant action responds.
Okay.
I'm going to send a message right now. You'll see it'll come up on Alex's screen at the bottom right corner as it comes in.
So if you hover in time, then it shows yo-yo-yo, or well, yo-yo. So then and Brandon, of course, doing this too. So should I read Brandon?
With his avatar.
You just messed it up, Brandon. You got just one of you do it, so I can do what James wants me to do. Just one of you send me it.
Ooh, sent another for you.
Okay, so I hover over it, and now I'm going to click on my phone to click to read it.
Yep, and you can go to read it. It's very cool.
Oh,
before
and that just
the avatar
right
loads, it'll actually update the instant action. Yep. It'll go from blue to gray and actually update it for you. Very cool that comes across so easily.
And it even shows the delivered. I sent hey from my phone, and it also updated So that's kind of interesting as well.
In action, absolutely. Very cool how reactive it is.
And Alex, can you do me a favor and click on that question mark on the bottom left corner of Blend?
Oh, yes, I can.
Yeah. And there we go. Back to my editorial a few weeks ago. It looks like BlackBerry is adding in some help features, and that actually pops up when you first install. Of course, this is the beta, right? So the pictures don't actually correlate with what the words are saying. But I'm sure in the final release, this will be populated with relevant images, and also
links you to the user guide.
Links you to the online resources. And that's the thing I was saying, is that it's not that they didn't have the resources, it's just that they weren't the best at getting people to access those resources. So this is a good example, and I applaud them for this effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was excited when the help tutorial came up. I was like, yes! It's like Brandon actually is gonna love this when it actually comes up.
Chris, have you gotten an opportunity to test this with a Bez connected, be it personal or otherwise?
No, I meant to set it up this weekend, but then I totally forgot about it.
Because they mentioned in the changelog that there was some kind of BlackBerry intelligent assistant integrated here within BlackBerry Blend. I don't personally see it when I go through my uses. I don't see that. I imagine it would just be like an icon here on the left-hand side, maybe a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
But I don't see it currently in this consumer version, consumer beta of the OS. I wonder maybe if that's something that's Bez enabled, which would be really cool as an additive for business users who want to remote search devices. What I really like about Blend, and I think you guys can all agree, is the file manager is very robust. So you see Alex has here Alex PC and then desktop. If he had a Blend enabled tablet, that would also show up in here. So through your computer, you can use your BlackBerry to access files on your Android tablet, all through Blend, with no cloud. It's a very, very interesting kind of utility that they've built. And it works across multiple devices, so I could be on my tablet looking through my BlackBerry to files on my computer, and vice versa.
Yeah,
once it's Blend connected, it's very robust.
I have my device, my media card, my Dropbox, my MacBook, my OneDrive, my Windows computer, my iPad, and apparently some phone that I totally can't remember what device it actually is, but it's there.
So yeah, they also updated, so they just made it a little bit smoother and sleeker. So if I click the options down here, I know it's really not a big deal, but it slides out really nice. The transitions on it definitely becoming refined. More kind of shows this. Before it was a pain to have the remain signed in that didn't even really exist. It would prompt you once, but it just looks nice and clean here. And then actually going to one of the internal pages here, so it defaults to hide this. And then that's how you can quickly switch between it, and it's a fairly easy way to do it. And now this will default out. A lot of the time when you initially opened it up, it was too small where it stayed hidden, but now the default size for Blend, opening it from scratch, is large enough where you can actually see this on the left side here. And again, you can make it smaller or larger just by clicking that. And the conversations definitely load, like you saw how quick that loaded. Before, in the previous version, it would take some time to load every now and then. This is fairly quick. It's not too much to show off, but it's just more refined. Things look nice, and I like this kind of layered approach that they have here. And that's, for the most part, the new Blend
update. There's also a little arrow back and forth at the bottom left next to the gear, and that actually shows you live file transfers as they're happening, which is a very cool feature. So if you're moving a file from a device through BlackBerry to another device, you can actually see and track the progress there. And as Blaze mentioned, there's really no aggregated way to look at so many different pieces of information. I love the ability that I can leave my micro SD card in my phone yet still access the photos. That's a big thing for me. There's also spell check that's been added in here, so you can actually go through and right-click on your poorly spelled emails and upgrade some of the text and spelling there. Overall, I find the experience has been pretty good. What about you guys? There's a transfer.
That's the file transfer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Alex. I think when the beta notes came out, it said there was some virtual assistance integration or something.
Yeah,
we just discussed this.
I was just saying that, and I genuinely think they prematurely say some of this stuff. Because I might be wrong, but in the previous beta 1, they mentioned that there was actionable notifications, and for me at least, they were not actionable. And now in beta 2, they said they're actionable notifications, and as you just saw, they're definitely actionable. So I think there might be some confusion about, hey, are we pushing this version live or this version live? Well, here are the changes, and there might be a little, off with that. Definitely, at least we know Assistant is coming. Which will be cool. Hopefully it'll just be something here, and if I click that and maybe search the entire device.
That'll be really useful, because if you think about it right now, maybe I just don't know how to use my MacBook that well, but it's not really that easy to just ask general questions like, what was the score of, the Leafs game or something like that. Whereas if you had that virtual assistant integration, you could literally just be like, what was the score of the Leafs game? And it'll send you back, the information, just like if you were on your BlackBerry device.
And it's interesting, Alex, because the features we're seeing coming in here, some of the features Brandon has mentioned, are things we saw on the BlackBerry support forum in terms of what they were going to do with the Blend Premium, right?
Yep, exactly.
The Intelligent Assistant, bring in the ability to blend from not only a BlackBerry but to another mobile phone, and really kind of extend that
Android, iOS. Yep, they're definitely moving along with like we had kind of a sneak preview of what they do, and they're going along with it, so definitely not surprising. Looking forward to see how they're planning on doing the virtual assistant, though. Should be pretty
If you're on an Android or iPad as well, you can now use Blend in portrait mode, which is very, very cool, to say the least.
And you know what? You were talking about like a Blend Premium, and based on my experience using Blend, it's actually a really quality piece of software, and it's something I really have no problem paying for. When you talk about like BBM pin subscriptions, that it's not something that's going to really get me to pay for it. But when you talk about a quality piece of software like Blend, it's something that I would gladly pay like a yearly fee for, as long as they keep adding those features and have that quality aspect to it.
But previously, like I've loved Blend from the very beginning, but there was a lot of issues, and technically, as this is a beta, there's still a lot of issues with the Blend that is available to the majority of people at this point. The Blend that people are out there running, if they're not running the beta, there's a lot of issues with those particular builds. But the new beta shows a lot of promise. It shows that they actually care about the application. It's probably one of the better designed applications to come out of BlackBerry.
Absolutely.
And they're actually listening to the feedback. Like, I know for a fact that the file transfer button was one of the things that I complained about in the actual beta, because it wasn't clear. They used the same icon for two different things in there, and they changed it, right?
So in other words, we could say that Blend isn't being BlackBerry expressed.
Exactly. It's not being forgot about. It's not being.
But imagine if BlackBerry Express was integrated through a Blend-enabled application to Blend.
That would honestly be one of the best things to happen to Blend if they had BlackBerry Express integration. If you look, like I've said this numerous times, but if you look at the ratings on BlackBerry World, everybody's just got awesome things to say about that application, and it's very functional as it is currently. It's just got a few things that need to get it there, like exporting presentations into a form so that you can use them on other devices. But I think with Blend, what we're going to see is if they have that integration with BlackBerry Express, it's gonna really overcome that need to export your presentation into a different form. You can just pop it up on Blend and be able to present through that.
Exactly. I can imagine that's probably the line they'll go through, right? It's interesting I don't know if any of you guys have caught the video I did of 10.3.2. Super short video. I show off that now, on Passport you can swipe around the home screen with the actual Passport keyboard, which is fun, right? Almost to classic level, as Alex was talking about redundancies earlier. And it does kind of get you pretty close. I'd imagine like some kind of double tap on the Passport keyboard while you're on the home screen could initiate something similar to what the Classic does with that little highlighted icon that just moves around with the trackpad as a cursor. I'd love to see something like that. But anyway, in that video I also show off the Blend application has been updated to quote-unquote allow Blend-connected applications. So we can imagine maybe BlackBerry will open up a store or something to allow a bigger plethora of applications to be available through Blend. I mean, Dropbox is already integrated. BlackBerry probably did most of the heavy lifting to make that happen. You can imagine other partnerships, especially for the enterprise, where you can build enterprise services into Blend as part of the subscription and really kind of increase the value of such an application that works, again, without a VPN, cloudlessly. Yeah. Super cool.
And even let like apps like Black or something, you know, Twitter application be within there, so we can really replicate the hub on the computer. And Brandon, you mentioned, you know, you'd be willing to pay for it, and I completely agree for, you know, added functionality. But let's keep in mind too that there's continuity for iOS and Continuum coming for Windows Phone, so they definitely need a competitor that's free. But there's definitely, like, I'd be willing to pay for a premium, and I feel like it is at a premium level at its current way. Like, you can strip some of it out, and I will pay for a premium to get it back and more. So I absolutely agree.
Blend is definitely a value add to the entire BlackBerry 10 operating system, which kind of
BlackBerry fans, when you have to pay for Blend, you can thank Brandon and Alex.
They need to have a free version of it. No, they need to have a free version.
Yeah, they definitely need to have a free version. And even right now, I mean, if you attach Blend to an enterprise, there's more things that automatically get added to Blend.
Yep. There's a browser workspace, I believe.
Yeah, you get the internet browser, which basically it replicates. I think it replicates Google Chrome as the actual browser for your internet and stuff like that. So, you know, they're definitely going to be adding more to it, and there is going to become a point where, you know, you're going to be able to pay a price to be able to go ahead and get more offerings within BlackBerry Blend as well. It just depends on what portions of it actually remain free, and I think what we're looking at right now, that we all have become accustomed to knowing as BlackBerry Blend, will be the free option. You know, hopefully. Anyways, I hope
this is timed message and retractions all over again, Chris.
Yeah, I hope they don't take away BBM or something like that and tell me I need to pay $5 for BBM for Blend, because that would terribly suck. But
I'd so pay for that though. You know, I'm just gonna stop. This feedback is not needed.
Let's not give them ideas about what we would and wouldn't pay for.
Right, yeah, they can figure that out on their own.
BlackBerry though, please try out Blend on a high resolution monitor, and it's very small. It's unusable on a laptop that has a high resolution display. They didn't scale it properly, so please look into that, because I can't even use Blend on my laptop. Everything's like that big. It's really tough.
You're right. I'm looking at mine, and everything is kind of small. Like, no human can actually read that, but I can.
And Alex, and you're playing with Blend. Have you found that there's any keyboard shortcuts to do anything?
I've
been playing around with it a bit, and I haven't actually found any keyboard shortcuts. And I mean, that'd be a nice homage to, you know, BlackBerry's legacy, you know, having those keyboard shortcuts on your desktop so that you can just shift in and out between accounts in Blend to make it that much quicker.
Even regular computer-based shortcuts don't work, like copy and paste don't work or anything like that, which I found really disturbing.
Huh. That's very interesting, Blaze. That's not something already built in. Like, they're providing the
you would
system.
think that it would be, but it's not.
Control-C, Control-V?
Yeah, it doesn't work on Mac anyways.
Oh, well, yeah. Control-C, Control-V. One thing I don't like, though, you can't... So if I click... if I go back, I have to back out and then go right back in.
Yeah. Works on Windows, Chris.
So right here, this...
Well, I'm not going back to Windows, so...
Not for that.
You'd assume this is clickable area, though, to enter a message, but it's not. So, like, this, like, above, you have to click here for it to start typing. But so many times I've clicked, and this feels like it's clickable area, and I start typing. That worked out of magic. I swear that doesn't normally work, because it doesn't. But you get my point. That's not clickable area to actually get the cursor in there. But I quit. I'm done. It worked. Of course it works. So I think I'm just being picky at this point. So let's just stop with this.
Everyone who was looking, I want you to, like, pause the video, scroll back for a second, and look at Alex's desktop, and look at the two selfies he has on the top left of his desktop. Then send him angry tweets about how you feel about that, because
They're for his Tinder
Alex,
profile.
I have to access them frequently for LinkedIn and my other social networks.
Frequently.
Yeah, whatever, bro.
More than you'd expect. I don't know.
He's
Enough
keeping his
that I need
Tinder
desktop.
profile up to date with the latest selfies.
I mean, if it was November and you were doing Movember, I mean, I could understand, but you know.
Maybe I like looking at myself. Can you just cut me some slack?
Wasn't there like a report a few days ago that like 50% or 67% of males take more selfies than they ever did or something like that? I don't know.
Girls take a lot of selfies though, and it's okay. When men take selfies, they get like laughed at for something. Like
He's got a
James,
Google
James
for
just
that
did.
headline.
I think it's because guys just look extremely dumb taking selfies, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
girls
so
can
true.
look good, but you know, every time I've tried taking a selfie, I'm like, just purge that image out of my memory.
I think we're getting a little off topic. Well, I think we're probably done then, right?
Pretty
We
sure
started
we were
we
mostly
started
off
Upstream
topic.
talking about Gotham. What are you talking about topic? This is the blandest week. No, but we have, I don't know if you guys have seen this button here. We've got some buttons we're going to be giving away on the site soon. Maybe a couple or a few passports. That might happen too. I'm deciding on whether Team BlackBerry is worth it or not. I'm going to go out to Team iPhone and be like, I challenge you to leave iPhone. No, we'll see what we're going to do with those devices. And it's crazy, guys. BerryFlow, 2 years old, 2 days ago on the 15th. I was going to do a post about it, but I had nothing to say. Like, I had nothing to show for it yet. So hopefully, maybe you'll visit BerryFlow sometime soon and you'll see some new
Hold on. What do you mean you have nothing to show for it? I mean, you have an awesome podcast that's doing it with Crackberry together. You have an awesome website. You have an awesome group of people who follow your website. So don't say you don't have anything to show for it, buddy.
I don't know, man. Some of those fans are just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with you. I don't know what I'm gonna do with you.
Sometimes it's hard to
nice
toot your own
tweets.
horn, though.
Like angry tweets. No one likes those. That's how you get muted permanently to black. No, but it's been a great podcast, guys. I always appreciate having you guys on. Your insight is so tremendous because you come at it from so many different angles in terms of your BlackBerry perspective. Chris, this guy's a legend. I mean, having him on here, it really just is such a wealth of knowledge and opportunity. Having to deal with the majority of the community on a daily basis, he just brings so much to the table. Brandon as well with his applications. Penguins, pending an update, guys. I swear it's coming soon. It's gonna bring Apple Watch integration or something crazy like that. And Alex, I've said this since like episode number 30.
Can we
Like,
just
where is your
skip
update for web design cheat sheet?
Someone just reached out to me actually, and apparently the about page is a little screwed up for Z10. I just got back in town though, so I gotta test it to make sure. But yeah, I gotta.
So an update is coming.
Maybe.
It's my favorite app, dude. Like I love like hooking it up via HDMI.
You've never looked at. You've never
not true. No, like Miracast, HDMI out, using your web editor and horizontal on another screen is awesome, dude. You are a good developer, sir. Keep that up. Do more.
You could yell at Jeremy though, because the BlackBerry Leap isn't in market. Where is he?
It's sad because I sent him like mocks, like HQ mocks. I'm like, bro, here it is early. He still didn't put it in. I don't know.
What a guy.
What is Jeremy doing? I think he's having a child or something.
I think he has a kid, maybe. Yeah.
That could be.
That's no damn excuse. Okay, I got like 3 of them. No damn excuse.
Blaze is like, but I need market now.
Right? BlackBerry Leap needs to be put into market, and there needs to be new memes in there too. What the hell, bro?
Yeah, it's missing the seal one, the awkward seal one. Like there's awkward penguin, but now the big thing on Reddit is awkward seal. Looks like a scared seal. Yeah.
It's missing Kermit sipping tea too, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that one needs to be.
I need that one.
The thing is like not Brandon. Jeremy built in make custom meme for this very reason, so you can't complain about it, right? He's already looked ahead like, nah, we're good. We're good till like the next major update.
Yeah. You jerks just use it the way that it's supposed to be used.
That's a Jeremy's watching right now, like these guys. I'm still not gonna push an update. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for coming on. We have BerryFlow Downstream, which will be a quasi-drinking game as we look back at a year on BlackBerry news. That'll be episode 52. We just closed episode 58, so we do look forward to seeing you there on that particular episode because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be maybe Alex, maybe we'll finally have a group chat on the actual. Maybe finally we'll have what you've been dying for the past like half a year.
Please,
that'd be so funny.
So many typos. Good thing Blend automatically corrects.
I can just imagine someone going on a drunken like rant about like someone's comment, and then someone's like, yeah, that's not what it said, and they like misheard it.
No, like legitimately, I'm at the bar the other night, and I go to pay my bill. It's like $12, right? I had like 4 beers, and I write an $8 tip. But then I put the total as $13. I'm telling the bartender like that's a $2 beer tip. Like I'm like done, right? And she's like, yeah, okay. Just signs off on it. I'm like, oh god, that was awful. That's how the downstream is gonna be, but better.
Looking forward to it.
We're gonna have to like rehearse, guys, just so we can stay cohesive till the end. Anyway, guys, really appreciate having you guys on. We'll see you next Sunday for BerryFlow episode number 49. Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Later.
Cheers.